you got it locked on Roadium Radio.
Due to circumstances beyond anyone's control, Dr. Dre is in the motherfucking house. So right about now, and I say, yo Steve, are you with me? ICE, are you with me?
Here's a little something about a nigga like me that never should've let me buy tape from Steve. Ice Cube would like to play Dope Shit mixed by Dr. Dre. Since I was a youth, I like Compton. Now I like the motherfucking Roadium. Buying a tape or two, that's what the hell I do. You don't like Tony A? Well, fuck you, this is a game, and I'm in it. Ice Cube will fuck you up in a minute with a right, left, right, making you sick. And then you see Tony A is on the mix.
Tony A! Tony A! When you're ready, go.
Welcome back, everyone, to Roadium Radio, episode 310. 310 or 310. Okay. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody in the live chat, everybody who tuned in, everybody who liked, comment, subscribed, everybody who decided to share this, everybody who tagged somebody, anybody who didn't tag anyone, but you're still watching, so thank you. And those who didn't decide to be on the live chat, much love, much respect. You know what, like I always say, if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be here. So I want to thank you guys first and foremost. Go ahead and hit that like button, and if you hit the dislike button, it doesn't matter, you guys are still watching, so that's all that matters. But you know what, these are a guests that a lot of people have been asking since day one, and September 11th of this year, it'll be 4 years, so we finally got them here. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and make sure that we open up those phone lines that you guys actually call in and ask. I always like to say, if you got the balls, make the calls, okay? Because a lot of you guys have questions. You guys told me I was going to call in, so I'm going to be waiting for you guys, okay? So other than that, we are still celebrating 50 years of hip-hop. So once again, the one and only 783. How are you, my brother? I'm doing good, brother. I'm blessed. You know what? Let's start from left to right. If you could introduce yourself to the public.
I'm Brett B, 783.
I'm Sean B, Bolden, 783. Both of us are Boldens. That's what the B stands for.
Okay, so but people that may not know, you guys are like brothers.
Yeah, yeah.
Like same mother and same father.
Yeah,
like
brother.
literally
Wow.
brothers.
Now, can I ask who's older?
He is.
Okay, so he's the older brother. Did he protect you when you were growing up, man?
Absolutely. That's kind of like my father figure, because our father moved out here to L.A.
Uh-huh.
And he was the man in the household.
Oh.
You know, even though he was a few years older than me, he was always that to me. And when he moved, I felt it even more. So yeah, absolutely.
That's dope. That's dope. So are you guys the only brothers? You guys come from a big family?
Nah, we have
I got two other brothers.
brothers.
From my father.
Yes.
Okay, that's dope.
So there's four of us. Actually, four of us all born on Sunday.
Yeah. And all
My father was
Boldens.
born on Sunday.
All born on Sunday?
All born on Sunday. I was born on Father's Day.
Did you guys ever
He
look
was
that
born
up?
on Easter.
Like, what did that mean?
No, actually.
Nah, one of our brothers' name is Quasi, which means boy or a child born on Sunday. So there's a lot of relevance and symbolic gestures that come from us, from names and everything.
That's dope. That's so dope. Well, you know what? First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to Jeff Kwan.
Jeff, what's up? Thank you
For
looking
blessing us
out.
with this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff Kwan.
And there's a lot of history here. I really don't know where to start, because when I meet brothers like yourselves, it's like walking into a record store. You don't know where to start digging.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
But let me start here, because we are celebrating 50 years of hip hop. They just had that amazing show at the Yankee Stadium. Did any of you guys get a chance to tune into that? It was like, actually, they had it live on YouTube.
oh,
Actually, I didn't, because I was playing with my grandson.
Okay.
Yeah.
and I didn't either, but I did see a lot of clips and footage from it. I didn't know it was live, so nah, we didn't. We did see some of it, but no, I didn't see it live.
Okay. One of my boys, DJ Thorough, he DJs for a lot of cats out there like Raekwon, Cameron, Cassidy, and those guys. Mm-hmm. He lives in Harlem, and usually when I go to New York, I go stay with him. Mm-hmm. We were supposed to go, even though he went, but I just couldn't make it out there because of family issues. But I had planned to go out there because that is something that I would have loved to have gone. Because from the very beginning, you know, if we go back to August 11th, 1973, I was only 5 years old. But ever since the hip hop culture, when I say the hip hop culture, I'm talking about the 4 elements of hip hop, whether it be MCing, breakdancing, graffiti, or DJing. Okay. My thing was the DJing part. I tried graffiti, I sucked. Okay. I tried breakdancing, I was pretty good, but I was too big. I was too tall. You know, but other than that, man, let's back up a little bit. Where originally are you guys from?
East New York, Brooklyn, Linden Houses.
Yes.
Okay.
East New York, Brooklyn, Linden Houses, born and raised. We didn't come out until our teenage years out to LA.
Really? Yeah. Okay. See, because when I bought you guys' first 12-inch, and we won't get into that just yet. I thought you guys were from out here. You know,
a lot of people did.
Yeah, a lot of people did. At that point, we were living out here, but we've been bi-coastal since we was like 9. I was 9, he was 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my father moved out here, so during the summers, we would come out here during the summers to stay with our dad. And it was really weird because when we first started coming out here, our father was working in YA. Yes. So we spent our weekends in YA and in halfway houses for adolescent offenders and stuff like that.
Now, for the people that may not know, when you say YA, you were talking about CYA, correct?
Yeah,
CYA.
California Youth Authority.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's go back to New York, Brooklyn. You guys said.
Yeah, Brooklyn.
Brett, beginning with you, what was it like growing up? Can you kind of give us a picture of what it was like at that time? What was Brooklyn like?
It was a nice place to live because as a child, you didn't realize that you were poor or you were anything like that. Then once you start getting to your adolescent years and you start doing, you know, the same shit you would do out here, you start hustling, you start stealing, you start doing things like that. But it was a really, I would say it was a beautiful thing only because I had my family there. Like once I moved to California, it was just me and my father. But when I was in Brooklyn, I had uncles, cousins, brothers, mother, grandmothers, all of that, as opposed to when I got sent out here. Because I got sent out here, my mother's watching 2 weeks before my 14th birthday.
Okay.
Because I always say, I got sent out here 14. No, it was 2 weeks before your 14th birthday, so 2 weeks before my 14th birthday.
Yeah.
I got sent out here for getting in trouble in Brooklyn, and that's how I got out here.
And Sean, what was it like for you? Because obviously you lived a different life. Obviously he's your brother. You guys lived together. But how was it for you growing up there? And the reason why I say that is because keep in mind that for us that live out here, when we think New York, the first thing that comes to mind, the Warriors.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny about that is the Warriors was fictitious, but it did have some elements of truth. There were gangs that was kind of, at that time, the Tomahawks and things of that nature, which was represented in a couple of movies, Sonny Carson, I believe.
Yeah,
the education of Sonny Carson actually has some real gang members, but that was in the 70s. So by the time we grew up, they had already dismantled the Black Spades and all of the stuff in the Bronx.
Yeah, that was all.
Yeah, it was kind of unraveling. So we didn't really witness or get a sense of that. And to Brett's point, it was nice because we didn't know any different, but it was definitely impoverished. It was definitely, you know, I have songs that we wrote back then that will describe it clearly. You know, during the crack era, you dealt with crackheads, you dealt with piss in the elevator. Yeah. You dealt with dope fiends in the staircase, you dealt with dope fiends living on the roof. Yeah. You dealt with, like, we used to live on a corner right next to a park, so a lot of people would come because, you know, there was no locks in the building, and what they would do, you get on the elevator, they hit you on the second floor, rob you, run out, and then hit the park. Yeah, so there was a lot of things like that, and you know, I can remember being, maybe I was still in grade school, but I can remember watching, God bless the dead, Papoose' brother. He got stabbed in the park across the street, and I watched him as a kid. I watched him run in front of the building and go into the building and die bleeding to death. And that was at a very young age. Yeah. Right now, we would think that it was our teenage, but it was actually below our preteens.
I was in grade school.
He was in grade school, and we would witness things like that, similar to Boys in the Hood. When you want to see a dead body, we had experiences like that, and So to your point, it was definitely our building specifically. We didn't know this until we got older and we reflected on it. But our building, some of the other buildings in the project called our building the Devil building.
The Devil's Building,
Right? Because we was just raised around a lot of criminals.
Yeah,
like literal.
We literally grew up with a lot of, you know, just doing a lot of. I guess you would call it mischievous, but it was criminal activity.
Yeah.
It was shit you could get locked up for.
Yeah. Now, give us a picture of what was played when you guys were kids growing up in your parents' homes. Like, what type of music was your parents listening?
I can tell you my mother's anthem.
Okay.
Ain't no stopping us now. McFadden and Whitehead.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
and our father was a musician, so he schooled us to everything.
Yeah.
I mean, our musical inclination comes from our father.
Oh wow.
So you know, he was a musician. He played the group Sky.
Yeah.
He was actually one of the founding members, playing the vibes and percussions with them. But he went to school instead of continuing to pursue being part of the that band.
Well, I mean, for me, actually, it wasn't just my father, because my mother had a lot of inspiration as far as the stuff that she listened to. Because before I got to my father, I was listening to, like, my mother would play Al Jarreau,
True.
McFadden, Whitehead. One of my favorite songs, Bridge Up, it's a doctor to bang, it's a lonesome. So all of those things I got from my mother. Do you want to get funky with me? And a lot of the things that I did as a writer, I got from my mother, because my mother used to, you know, my mother would, let's say, her and her girlfriends come over, they be singing, you know, whether it ain't nothing going on but the rent, or, you know, McFadden.
What's funny about what you're saying, and it actually answers his point, is that our lyricism came from our mother.
Yeah.
Because she was in tune to the lyrics.
Yeah.
And that's what he's referring to. It influenced us because we would hear them singing that, and we might not understand it, but that's what we would start repeating. Whereas my father
was a musician.
We came back in the musical side that we got when we started becoming artists. That influenced us from the musical side.
I mean, with my father, like I was saying, with my mother, it was lyrics. With my father, when I got to my father had me listening to, like, John Luke Ponty, the Yellow Jackets, Loggins and Messina. Like, one of my favorite songs, Loggins and Messina, Pathway to Glory. Y'all should check it out. You like it.
Yeah,
Pathway to Glory. Okay.
Pathway to Glory by Loggins and Messina. And then waking up, and on Saturday mornings, him playing the vibes. And, you know, I'm cleaning the house, and like I said, we're listening to Yellow Jackets, we're listening to Loggins and Messina, we're listening to things of that nature. So that kind of put my musical ear in a different place, because it wasn't so much like where you got the greats as, you know, you look at someone like Dre, you look at a lot of West Coast and East Coast producers, it's based around R&B, it's based around soul music, it's based around McFadden, Whitehead, Roy Ayers, things of that nature. To where my father, because of what I was listening to, even now as a producer, I'll listen to, like, John Luke Ponty, Loggins and Messina, Yellow Jackets. A lot of, what is it called? I don't want to say new age jazz.
Okay.
But I can't think of the name right now. But that's what I listen to.
So as far as us here, we always thought that New York was just like the Warriors, okay? And we thought
and we thought in New York that it was like Colors. So
yeah, you know, yeah.
Now you can understand.
Yes. Very, very true, because, okay, we'll get to that, because you guys actually had a song in the movie Colors.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now here's another thing that when we think of New York, early on I saw obviously B Street, I saw Style Wars, and then there was one more that it's not coming to Wild Style. Okay. So we were so, I guess, infatuated, if that's the right word to use, with
I would say enamored
with the hip hop culture that was coming out of New York, trickling into the West Coast.
Right.
I'm in junior high school. Back now we call it middle school. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember I met my first New York friend, and that we actually named him New York. Okay.
That happens. Yeah.
You know, and so everything was New York. And so I asked him, hey man, how long did it take you to get from New York? Because he said he drove. I don't know if it's true, because he was a young buck, but he said we just drove straight. He said, of course, we stopped to use restroom 8, but we drove straight. He said it was 14 hours. I don't know if that's true.
No, it's not. I drive it and have driven it several times. No, It's days.
It's definitely not 14 hours, but I will say, if Nikki, the Hernandez brothers, who I know, they was in New York, they drove here, they say, in 28 hours.
Oh.
And that's going nonstop. But just a disclaimer, the Hernandez brothers was a different breed. So it's possible that they did it because I could see them doing 160, 150 all the way through and really not, you know, they were real cowboys.
Okay. Now, here's a question because, again, this is my first New York friend. You know, to me, scratching came from New York, breaking came from New York. So I was like, really like enamored, like what you said. So I asked him, how is it over there? And here's what he told me. He was, it's always cold and the sun rarely ever comes out. Is that true?
No.
We're talking about 80s, you know?
No, cold. It's cold in the winter.
In the winter, yeah.
In the summer, it's hot, but it's very humid.
Very humid.
It's got to take 3 or 4 showers a day.
Damn.
Yeah, because it sticks.
Yeah, the humidity is, like, we got dry heat out here.
Yeah.
The humidity out there is horrible.
Yeah, so, but it is like, I'll just build on that because I came out here at 14 to live. So when I came out here at 14, I remember getting off the plane, and this is the first time I like, my mother sent me. Ain't no 2 months, ain't no going back to New York. You fucked up, you're here. It's like, you know, like I'm hitting, I'm kind of doing my bid with my dad.
Right.
I'm not going to Spofford. I'm going to dad's school. And so I'm driving through, and the two things that I wasn't used to, the one is I remember asking my father, because at that time, remember, this is like pre-Jerry curl.
Yes.
This is when you had the curlers. And brothers had the blowouts, but I didn't really witness that in New York. Yeah. So we driving up Crenshaw, and I get to the house, and I'm unpacking. I look at my father, and I go, yo, why do the grown-ass men walk around in curlers out here? Like, what's up with that?
What went through your mind? Like,
yeah, not only that, but that was new to me. Chucks was new to me.
Really? Okay.
If you remember back in the day, the golf, the gang banging with the golf hats.
Yes.
That was new to me.
That was big.
Yeah, and so all of this stuff was new to me. I remember the first time I got pressed on gang banging. I was going to school, and I had on all blue. So my man Marcello, he's like, what's up, blood? And I'm like, hey, what's up? How you doing? What's up, bro? And I'm on some straight New York. You know, I'm on some straight New York shit. Like, yo, what's up? He's like, what's up, blood? And I'm like, yeah, what's up, brother? How you doing? And he was like, what's up, blood? And I'm like, what's up, man? He was like, you ain't from here, huh?
Right.
And I'm like, nah, man, I'm from Brooklyn. He was like, because I had on like blue shorts, blue tube socks. You know, I'm
matching nylon.
Yeah, I'm Brooklyn.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So he sat me down. That's when I found out about gangbanging and the gang culture and all of that. And that's how I learned about it. But up until that point, you know, I didn't really know about it. So those were things at 14 coming out here from New York. And everybody, and that's when it was kind of weird because then you had dudes who were from here, like who were born in New York, but had never lived in New York.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That would be like, yo, I'm from New York. And you like,
nah.
Technically, no, bro. Like, no, technically, you're not.
Okay. Sean, how old were you when you came out here?
The same age, 14,
Oh,
but
14.
3 years later.
Okay.
I came out to visit them, and my story was I came out, and my brother brought me down to Hollywood Boulevard, and we was walking down Hollywood Boulevard, and somebody said hi to me, and I threw up my hands. Yo, what? You don't know me? And my brother like, yo, they just said hi. I said, so they don't know me? And I had that mentality, and he looked at me, and he was like, yo, you can't go back. Because I wasn't, you know, I wasn't into much, but I was getting there. I was transitioning, starting to feel that confidence, and he basically saw that the direction I was going in, to your point earlier, as far as father figure and big brother, he saw that and he was like, yo, you can't go back. So he said if I could get him on a record, because he got offered to do a record that Ice-T didn't want to do. And he
Shout out to Ice.
Shout out to Ice, definitely. He's the one who gave us this launch. He had a record offer that he didn't want to do, which was a remake of We Will Rock You by Queen. And he said, I ain't going to do it, but I got somebody who could. And Brett was the person that he suggested could do it. And Brett said, yo, I'll do it, but only if my brother could get on it.
Okay.
And at that point, I was rhyming. He was rhyming, but I was just rhyming the battle. He was actually out here doing his thing. He was doing shows and all that. I never knew that part of it. And so he introduced it to me from that point. And I came out here at 14.
14.
Did my 15 and 16, 11th and 12th grade out here.
Okay, 14 and 14, but 3 years. So by the time you were 17 already. So you already, it's safe to say, in the music industry, getting your feet wet.
Music industry, just friends with Ice.
Okay, now walk us through how did you meet? And I'm going to say Ice-T for the fans that
You want to know what? Honestly, I have no clue. I do not remember how we actually met, but I remember that he was living in Hollywood, and I used to see him. This is when he had the Porsche, and he had the primer Porsche because he had wrecked it. And him and Darlene had a studio up the block from me, and we both lived on Beechwood. And I don't know how we came together.
Wasn't you performing?
No, we did shows, like, because I was in Troublesome too at that point. So we did some shows, and that's how I knew Evil, Heng-Ji, and Ice, because we did a show in Glendale. And but I don't remember how we actually met. Like, but I knew we knew each other, and we ran into each other. It could have been like at the supermarket or some shit like
okay.
that. We both lived in the same neighborhood at the time.
Now, both of you guys are rapping at this time. You're 14, 17 years old. Take us back, Sean. When did this start happening for you as far as like, because most people say, I used to write poetry in school. Is that how it started for you? How did rapping?
Not at all. What happened, I was in New York. I was in the heart of it. So we would listen to, it started out popping.
Which originated in California.
I believe that.
Poppin', I'm telling you, Poppin' originated in California.
Okay.
Breakdancing was from New York.
Yes.
Because if you look at the clips from back in those days, you will notice as far as breakdancing, all the hot breakdancers was coming out of New York.
Yes.
But if you notice the pop locking, all the hot pop lockers were coming out the West Coast.
Right.
You know who got in trouble for saying that everything originated in New York, including popping, was Michael Chambers' Boogaloo Shrimp. In his documentary, he said popping originated in New York, and there was a lot of dudes out here, man, that started making videos, and they wanted to go after his ass.
No, because if you look, I can remember popping when I came to visit at 9. And the first time because popping came from the robot.
Yes.
From people doing the robot.
With the strobe light.
Yeah, but the robot, I can remember Michael Jackson doing the robot.
Yes.
And so that's why I know all of that started in L.A. because when I was in New York coming out here, I knew about breakdancing, but pop locking was like, oh, shit, what is this?
Yeah, and to your question, popping, for some reason, this is in my mind, poppers usually became MCs as they grew, and breakdancers became DJs.
Wow.
Because they were already behind the scenes, showing, and poppers was already in the front.
Yeah.
So that same mentality and energy we took in a different direction, and that's literally how it happened. Happened for me.
Ice used to pop.
Yeah, Ice used to pop too. So that's literally how it happened. It was just a natural transition. We started going from popping, and MCing was the next thing. And so a lot of my friends, we were listening to tapes, and we started rhyming. I remember Easy LD, Lynn Brooklyn in New York with Stetsasonic, and he was influenced by Stet because they was all from East New York. Buff and them was from East New York, Disco 3, which is the Fat Boys now. They went to school with Brett in junior high school, middle school with Brett.
All three of them?
All three of them.
They went to Gersh.
They went to Gersh, George Gershwin. So it kind of happened naturally from that. And Easy LD, Lynn is his name, he was actually the influence for us in my building, the younger people, because he was an MC. Brett was already in California at that point, and he was an MC. And we just started, when he started telling us stories, we started writing rhymes, and we started battling each other. And so by the time I got out there, I was rhyming to battle. I was popping to battle. So it kind of went in the same vein, and I just went from popping, because popping started getting played out, into MCing.
Since you brought up the Disco 3, which eventually the Fat Boys, because I remember my first 12-inch I bought, it was the Disco 3. I think, I don't know what label, Prisma maybe?
Prism?
Yeah.
Prism, I think.
Prism.
Okay, now
Red and Black label, right?
I think so. So,
By the way, I just saw Cool Rock Ski on Sunday in New York in Coney Island. So big up to Cool Rock Ski, the last surviving member of the Fat Boys.
so Prince Mark D, Cool Rock Ski, and Buff went to junior high school with you.
Yes.
Yeah, me and Mark was in the same class, 7S in Gersh.
Okay, do you have any kind of story that you could share with us about those guys?
What, can I before
Yes, sir.
he does that? You got to realize one thing about my brother, that my brother was in a movie when he was in elementary, so he had already acquired fame before rapping was even in New York. He did a movie called Welcome to Success, the Marva Collins story, which starred Morgan Freeman and Cecily Tyson, and he was their son. So he had already gotten that fame. So by the time he got into junior high school, he was already a celebrity. And Mark and them knew that about him. So you could go ahead from there.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, honestly.
No, actually, I did the movie when I was in junior high school. I met Mark and them. Like I said, me and Mark had the same class. We was in 7S. And what I remember about Mark was really a cool, funny dude. And he had this snick about him, God bless the dead, that used to crack me up because when Mark laughed, he was like that was his thing. He was.
I think he did that in Crush Groove. Wow.
That was his thing. But he was always a cool, swaggy, well, that's the term now, swaggy type of dude. But we got along. And by the time I moved to California, we lost touch. But then when we first started doing 783, they had the tour, the Run and Beasties. And
the Fresh
Boy.
Fest.
Yeah. And that's when me and Mark hooked up and I ran into him again.
Wow. Okay. Now, okay. See, this is what I'm talking about. Going into a record store, you don't know where to start digging. The whole Morgan Freeman thing. Do you still have any pictures with him?
Yeah, I still got pictures with me as a child, Morgan Freeman, God bless the dead, Cecily Tyson. And it was about Marva Collins, who was actually a teacher in Chicago who took a bunch of kids who were supposed to be illiterate, classified illiterate by the Chicago school system.
Yeah.
And turned them into doctors, judges, lawyers, so on and so forth.
She started her own school.
Yeah,
to this day, it still comes on Disney. You can look it up.
If you want to look it up, just look up Welcome to Success, the Marva Collins story.
Yeah.
Starring Cecily Tyson and Morgan Freeman.
And by the way, Morgan Freeman's an amazing, amazing actor, bro.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And this was prior to him having all this was before he was a movie star. He was, in an electric company and had some other little roles, but it wasn't something that he was a significant at the time.
Yeah.
And that's why I said Brett kind of, he's modest about it, but I'm proud of it, of course, because that's my big brother. But he actually was one of the first inspirations in our hood to get some type of shine and fame from our hood, including the Fat Boys.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
No, I was actually
I'm saying you
the
was
first one.
Before the Fat Boys.
It was like a TV show. It was on CBS and all that.
Yeah.
So I was in the TV guy.
Yeah, we had to watch it.
My mother would say that's when I thought I became a star. What have you?
Yeah. He became a star there. But like for example, my elementary school, it was an assignment throughout the whole district for them to watch this movie that he was in and do homework on it because he was a neighborhood kid and they knew about that. And so they emphasized and highlighted even that much further. So he got a lot of recognition.
You know what, Brett, I have to ask you this. How did you get in that movie to begin with?
Actually,
Miss
Grantham, my next door neighbor, she came home one day and she
there was an open audition.
My mother did an open audition for kids who read really well. And me and Sean both read really well. And to be quite honest with you, that morning, oh my God, it was one of the worst storms I've ever seen in New York.
And can I say this?
And I didn't want to go.
Right. Nobody did. My mother.
You wanted to go.
Oh, I wanted to go. But
that's why we went, because he wanted to go. But if he wanted to go,
but I want to say
you
this.
don't have to get up. Go ahead.
My mother took about 10 kids.
Nah, not 10. It was me, you, Yo. Was it Davina?
Yeah, Beanie. She took a host of us to this open audition in this pouring rain. So she, to this day, would tell us, I didn't even want to go, but, I promised everybody that I would, and she took like a lot of the neighborhood kids to the audition that Mrs. Granham told us about, and we all went up in the pouring rain down. No one ever been to an audition before, and got, by God's grace, he got a part, and
wow,
the rest is history.
Awesome, man. I never met anybody that actually knew the Fat Boys. People say, "Oh yeah, they're cool. I met them." But knew them, so.
And like he said, he just probably, Cool Rock's the last surviving member. I shared things with Cool Rock on Instagram, and he shares things with me, like a lot of boxing stuff. That's what I like about your site, Cool Rock, is you have the boxing on there.
Yeah, okay. and I actually mentioned page. Cool Rock when I saw him. I was like, yeah. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I be seeing y'all on Instagram." Yeah. So we know each other's family with Cool Rock. It was more Mark and Buff. I saw Buff, Mark, and Cool Rock literally one of my first times going to the beach by myself, and a couple of my homeboys. I was probably about 11, 12, and they were in the back of the bus, and Buff was beatboxing, and this was before any records. Yeah. Buff was beatboxing, and all we could hear is this cat in the back. Boom. The whole bus was rocking all the way back to Eastern New York. Man.
Wow.
And we didn't realize that it was them, but they was just rocking the bus the whole way back, and that was my introduction to the Fat Boys or Disco 3 before they even had any albums.
That's kind of what it was, because a lot of people think the first rap record is Sugar Hill Gang. Yeah. That's actually not the first rap record. The first rap record that actually had rap on it, and I remember because I was in elementary school and I went to buy the record, was King Tim the Third.
King Tim the Third?
King Tim the Third. And that was the first rap and it was only like 8 bars, but it was like I can remember going and getting it and listening to that 8 bars over and over. I can remember being a kid in elementary school and going to the park outside my elementary school and the DJs and then plugging in the turntables to the light post and all of that. So we were there in the beginning. And I think a lot of people don't realize the beginning of hip-hop in Los Angeles, because I was there for that too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of history there.
Yeah.
Okay, so you now from Brooklyn to LA, you're 17, you're 14, you guys are here, you guys are already spitting, now, how did you, because you explained how at least you came in contact with Ice-T, how did this whole DJ Muggs thing happen?
Well, I guess I could start that because it started kind of through me, right? It kind of started through me because we actually, Son Doobie, he was just talking about a guy from New York. When I first came from New York, he was that person that was claiming New York.
Okay.
All right. So because he was claiming New York, and I came and I was fresh out of New York, everybody started really looking down on him. Like, I forgot that Buster, Imposter, I forgot what they called it.
For real?
Yeah, of course. And so I kind of took him under the wing. And I brought him home, and we had done, had 783 Will Rock You at the time. We didn't have a DJ. Son became our DJ. Wow. Which a lot of people don't know. He never knew how to. He wasn't an MC. He wasn't none of that. He was, he had some turntables. He DJing. He wasn't a great DJ, but he was a DJ, and that's kind of who became our DJ initially.
Okay.
So we had a show that Tony G and Henry.
Yeah, but that wasn't Muggs.
No. What I'm saying is that then we had a show.
No, we had a show, but Son wasn't going to be the DJ. It was my man Kyle.
Okay, Kyle.
And Kyle didn't show up, so it was in Bell Garden. So I asked Muggs to be the DJ. I was like, "Yo, you want to come on and do the set?" And he was like, "Yeah." So we did the set.
So, but that's what I'm asking. How did you guys meet? Was it?
I met Muggs because a chick I was seeing a woman I was seeing at the time, she had met his friend Eli. And they were both Puerto Rican, and she introduced me to Eli, and through Eli, I met Muggs.
Okay.
And when I met Muggs, they had came over, and that's when that's when everybody was smoking. Like, I'm the one who introduced Cypress Hill to smoking blunts.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the reason Cypress Hill smoked blunts, because they came over and they came over to the chick's house, so we were drinking Super Sacco and gin.
Gin and juice.
Yeah.
Yeah, gin and juice, smoking joints. I was like, yo, let's roll a blunt. So we roll a blunt, and that's how me and Muggs started kicking it. So they had a show in Bell Gardens. They wanted 783 to perform. I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever. You know, ain't no money at this time. We just, you know, hooking up with the homies. So my man Kyle was supposed to do it. Kyle didn't show up. So then I said to Muggs, like, yo, you want to come on? Because we need a DJ, and me and Muggs was rocking ever since.
How was supposed to do? I thought
Yeah.
Son. Maybe we tried to get Son.
No,
Because
it was
Son had to
Kyle
go to
was the
Kingdom Hall.
Yeah, 'cause the original
he
DJ
was a
was Kyle.
Jehovah Witness,
Yeah.
and he had to go to Kingdom Hall because I think that's what we was trying to get Son to do the DJ.
No, it was Kyle for that show. Trust me.
Well, I'll trust him. He would
It's
know
all
better
good.
than I would.
Okay, now let's back up a little bit. You're 17, 14. You're here.
18, 15 now.
18, 15. Now, how does 783? What does it stand for? Who came up with it?
783 was basically a name I came up with because, like I said, like he was telling you, when I first did 783, I was rapping, and my brother was out here, and my father, I was like, yo, I'm not sending him back. And my father was like, yo, well, you know, I don't know if I'll handle the money. So I went and did the record. And when I did the record, I gave my father the money, and that's how he got here. 783, I came up with the name because there were 3 people. My projects that I lived in the building, I lived in apartment 7A. There's 3 people in the building, in the apartment. Me, my brother, and my mother.
In all actuality, we came up with together. I remember us sitting in the living room at Pop's house. We already had the deal, and we needed a name now. We had the deal before we had the name.
Oh, okay.
So we was like going back and forth, and he did come up with the actual, what about 783? And I was like, all right, cool. But we would literally going just through names and trying to figure out what it would be. But as he says, 7A is the apartment that we was born and raised in East New York, Linden Houses. 3 people lived in the apartment, my mother, my brother, and I.
Wow. Okay. Now, you said a deal. So now I want to backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
Who was the one responsible for hearing you guys out or listening to you guys' demo and saying, hey, I think...
Wasn't a demo. It
Jeff
was
Fenster.
him. It was Ice passing him an opportunity because he had already had recognition out here in Los Angeles from getting busy on
Basically,
the mic.
yeah, what happened was Ice was like, yo, Brett, what's up, man? I got these people, they want to do a record. I'm not doing the record. You want to do the record? I don't know. Sure, I'll listen to him. Then I went and listened to it, and it was Johnny Rivers, and Johnny Rivers had the beat. And then Jeff Fenster and Mio Vukovic was the production team.
Right, and they would
sent me
have
the record, and I wrote the record.
Yeah.
And he came. I brought him in to write the record, and that's how it started.
yeah.
Wow.
It was on McCullough.
It was on McCullough, and Jeff and Mio, who fast forward, Jeff was executive at various labels, Jive, Def Jam. He was a senior VP. Mio was a executive at Disney. Jeff also worked at Geffen at one point. So Jeff and Mio started a label called Vendetta. And that was what
the record was on.
We Will Rock You came out on through McCullough Distribution. So they started their own independent label. We were the first artists, and that was how we got on a record. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so it was through McCullough. So that it was safe to say it was a 12-inch that came out first.
Sure.
Okay, so it comes out. What is the response that you guys are getting?
Yeah, lukewarm. Really lukewarm. What really happened was Jeff really wanted to push it, so then we recorded Man World. Man World got on the colors.
Yeah.
And once that got on the colors, things started opening up from there.
So Jeff, as he said, We Will Rock You was an idea and a brainchild. They just want Queen. I don't know if Queen wanted to do it, but we was actually, if you think about it, we're the only artists that got clearance to sample Queen and do a remake of.
What year was this, would you say?
85, 86,
Yeah.
86.
86.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now let me share with you guys a story, okay? Me and High C, the reason why I'm bringing this up, because me and my boy High C, we were signed to Disney, Hollywood Records. It was their label. In 1990.
Leo worked there.
Yeah, in 1990. So our record came out in 1991. Now, when the first record came out and we did a whole tour and everything, there was a time where we were negotiating for our second album. Mm-hmm. In between that time, they had just signed Queen. Mm-hmm. And Hollywood Records actually Disney owns all the rights to Queen. Mm-hmm. And Freddie Mercury wrote his last album for Queen. They threw the listening party here at Queen Mary. Everybody came, obviously, except Freddie Mercury, because he was like months away from dying. Yeah. But it was funny, though, because there was a A&R lady there named Rachel Matthews. And she told me, he goes, hey, we got all of Queen's catalog. I want you to redo We Will Rock You or Another One Bites the Dust. So I did We Will Rock You, and they wanted Ice Cube to rap on it. He actually passed on it. Then I remixed Another One Bites the Dust. My manager knew Dre really well and told him, we want you to rap on Another One Bites the Dust. Dre just told him, no, I'm not going to rap to Another One Bites the Dust. But he said, come on, man. They know each other very, very well. So he said, just do this one for me. So here's what happened. I remember listening to Dre talk on a loudspeaker, and he said, if I do this for you, Steve, this is the one, and that's it. Like, this is the one. And he was like, he goes, can you hold on a second? And then he put it on mute. He goes, what do you think? And I was like, no, bro, save it for something else. Yeah. So we never ended up doing a song with Dre after that. So, but yeah, they had all their catalog, bro. And I never got to remix anything. You know who they actually paid? And it was garbage, bro. I'm sorry, it was garbage. They wanted me to do Another One Bites the Dust and then just remix it and then put their lyrics over it. So they just were paying me to remix songs. Then you know who walks in wearing a damn turban and a long ass like garment?
Who?
Rick Rubin.
Yeah, that sounds like Rick.
Okay, he walks in, and I'll be honest, like, who in the fuck is this?
Yeah, everybody when they sick Rick is like, who the fuck
okay.
is that?
So he charged them $60,000 to sample. Remember that? Come on, everybody, clap. It's an old break record. Cap.
Are you talking about not the one where Russell was talking on?
Now, I don't remember, but he just looped it on the SP12, and then he just put the "We Will Rock You" a cappella over it, and they gave him $60K for that. Yeah. Just so they could say Rick Rubin
did it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, okay. And I remember I told that lady Rachel, I'm gonna play you what he did. Played it. I sampled it on SP12, and I just looped it. I go, that's all he did. You guys gave him $60K, and you guys gave me $5,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's what happens when you have a big name, you know?
Yeah.
But now, okay, so 783. Now let's talk going into the Colors movie. Okay. Have you guys seen the like you know how they private screen the movie at all?
No, we didn't.
Okay, you guys didn't see it. So how did they approach you? If you can walk us through, like, we got a movie, we want a movie score, we want you guys to do.
It was a small world in the hip hop community, and we were part of that world. Ice, us, a few other people. So when an opportunity came up, and you know, we were into this side of the country were into movies. So a lot of times the offers to do soundtracks came to West Coast artists. And so with that being said, it was a APB out. We looking for songs for this movie. It came through Jeff and
Jeff,
and me.
Not only that, at the time Jeff was working at Warner Brothers. At
Warner Brothers. And Benny Medina, George Hinojosa, all of them. It was a little clique. Yeah. And so everybody would put out, oh, we're looking for this. And
now you got to remember, this is prior NWA.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
This is there's no NWA at this point. Ice doesn't have the deal for Power yet.
Yeah.
None of this stuff
exists.
exists.
No deals.
There was no deals. But we all had Colors was like the first big deal type, you know, I guess the first movement where the record labels and the LA rap scene were coming together.
Right.
And Dennis Hopper was bringing
Dennis Hopper.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people, what happened with us was Jeff was pushing it, but at that point, I believe Ice had already had Colors. That was
Ice
like Ice went and saw the movie.
The lead song.
Yeah, he got the lead song, Colors. After that, they looking for people. 783, Mad Mad World. Right. And Mad Mad World was used, of course, in the scene when Damian Wayans gets locked up and he's fresh in the lockup in the Crip Dorm, and that's when you hear Mad Mad World.
Wow. Okay. So was this track already produced before or
No, it was. Mad Mad World. No, actually, the rhyme I wrote it.
We wrote it.
No.
I remember writing my verse.
No, you wrote your. I had took verses that I wrote, because when I started rapping, a lot of rappers rapped about themselves. That's not why I started rapping. When I started rapping because it was a way for me, like you were saying earlier, more of a poetry thing. It was a way for me to express how I felt about what was going on around me. My brother was a battle rapper. Like, he was the Jay-Z, the DMX, the all of that, because he came from that New York culture.
Yeah.
For me, it was more about looking at the world and expressing how I felt about it.
Yeah.
And can I say this?
Yes, sir.
What he just said segues into something you'll probably talk about in the future, part of this interview, is that's where his songwriting abilities came from. And he taught us all how to write songs. This man here taught myself, taught B Real, taught Sun Doobie, taught a bunch of other artists how to actually write songs, who was just rapping or who didn't have any clue on how to rap. This man right here did that.
Wow.
But I was taught by Ice. So
Okay.
it
And
kinda-
Ice was kind of taught by what? Schoolie D?
Well, you know what's funny is because when we did the 783 album, that was one of the first people I met in Philadelphia was Schoolie D. And when I met Schoolie D, I was like, yo, Schoolie D is one of the most coolest, humble, down-to-earth brothers I've ever met in the rap industry ever. To this day, if I see Schoolie D, it's the same greeting, no matter how big he was then, how big. He's one of the most genuine people I've ever met in hip-hop ever.
Big up to Schoolie.
Yeah.
Well, big up to him. It's funny because about a week and a half ago, he was in town and he was supposed to be here.
Oh.
I was going to surprise everybody and just go live with him.
Yeah.
But I've had Soren Baker here. You guys familiar with Soren? Okay.
Soren interviewed me not too long ago. Matter of fact, was it Soren's interview? Soren, yeah, I'm familiar with Soren. I worked at the Source at one point.
Okay.
For Julie gave me a opportunity, and I met her through my brother. And so Soren and I knew each other from then, but he knew of us prior to me doing that.
Okay. I think I've had 2 or 3 times here. Soren's a good dude.
Yes.
Much love to him.
Soren Baker, big up.
Now, so what happened was Colors. Okay, comes out. Who produces the track? Is Muggs involved in this yet?
Muggs didn't do any production in any of our first album or our second albums where he first did any production. Our second album never came out, but that was going to be his introduction to producing.
Okay, the reason why, because I want to set the record straight, if he didn't, because there's a lot of people today that DM'd me on Instagram or commented and said, it's not 783 unless DJ Muggs is there. So the way they made it seem like he did all the production.
We put Muggs on.
Yeah, I'm the one who put Muggs on.
I say he taught us how to run. He put Muggs on, period.
I'm the
There's
one.
no other.
I gave Muggs the money to pay for his first SP12.
Yes.
Damn.
So there was no production. Now he was a great DJ.
Yes.
Don't
His name Grand Mixer Muggs.
Yeah,
I
he
gave that to him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Grandmaster Muggs, excuse me.
Yeah. So no Mixer. It was Grand Mixer Muggs you gave him. He might have been master or something prior to that.
Okay.
Okay, so there was no production. So is it safe to
No,
say?
the first album, Man World, I believe Man World was Johnny Rivers.
Okay, so that comes out. Now, I do want to say this. I thought Colors, the song was really dope because I thought that was like some gangster shit. We finally got some gangster shit. Before that, I thought Reckless by Ice-T was some gangster shit, I just wanted to hear something raw,
Yeah.
So Colors drops, and to me, the next song, the other song that I used to bump was Mad World.
Wow, thank you.
Honestly,
appreciate that.
it was that one. To me, if you guys go listen to that song still knocks till today.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
So now it comes out. Do you guys get to go to the premiere of the movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did the premiere. Our father got us, to this day, we still have a poster that our father gifted, I think Brett or myself or both of us.
Of the Color
soundtrack poster. And, he passed away in 97. So
Rest in peace.
It's near and dear. Thank you. It's near and dear to us. But he brought us that Colors album. And, yeah, we all went to the premiere. My father, my brother, and I, we all went Muggs. So, yeah, and Colors was the first gold album that we ever have been part of.
Yeah.
Okay. So now walk us through the premiere. You guys sit down, you guys watch the movie. Brett, you first, give me your opinion of what you saw. What did you think?
Just thought I thought it was a real representation of what was going on, but at the same time, I hate to put it this way, but I thought it was a representation through white eyes that didn't understand what was going on.
Okay.
That's fair. I was too young. I mean, I thought it was a cool movie. I wasn't that familiar with the whole gangbang. I just got out here, if you remember, so I wasn't really that familiar with the culture, you know, and hadn't had exposure to it. So it was weird to me seeing some of the exposure, and you could tell they were actors. It wasn't like Sonny Carson, for example. That was real gang people in that movie, and you can tell this was actually actors in the movie playing gang members. So it kind of came across to me that way, so it wasn't really that authentic.
Like the only authentic thing, the colors to me, shout out to Don Cheadle, he did a great job, but was the brother who played, was his name, the brother who played Puppet, was it Puppet his name? The one who led the Mexican gang. He
Talking about Frog?
Frog, yeah. Now
That was the only one who was kind of authentic to me. Everything else, it was a chill movie.
Yeah.
But it was a movie.
It was a movie. You know, and like I said, it was through the eyes of Dennis Hopper, who, you know what I mean? He did a good job.
He did a good job.
But the representation was not what was really going down.
But can I also give him props, because the polished portion that he's referring to actually helped out the culture, because that polished, like I said, Sonny Carson a few times, that was a horrible movie as far as production wise,
right?
Horrible. Whereas the polishedness that Dennis Hopper was able to give to the element, having actors and knowing how to put on a production, help elevate a lot of the other attention that came to hip hop on the West Coast through that opportunity that he gave us.
I mean, not only that, but I think what it did is, for the first time I can remember, after the movie Colors, going to Brooklyn and getting out the cab from the airport to go get a 40. There's a bunch of motherfuckers on the corner, all in red. Talking about, what's up, blood?
Yeah, okay,
that came a lot later. But also, before we go that far, that listening party because we also boycotted the Grammys around then.
Can you kind of give the public what a listening party is? Because I don't think they even do that.
It's a party that
you play the album. You go and they throw a party, and during the party you play album cuts and you play the album for people, and they get familiar with it, and then they go out and spread the word.
So it came out at the same time where we boycotted the Grammys. So the party, and you'll see footage of it to this day, it was where Dennis Hopper, Little Richard, the whole Hollywood was really embracing hip hop, and the West Coast artists that were part of it was us, and then it was a bunch of other East Coast, Will Smith, because Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince came out that time. But this was all around the same time, all kind of overlapping. Wow. So Colors gave us a launching pad, and then from that, people were familiar, and then came the boycotting of the Grammys, and because of that, now we have representations in the Grammys. So there was a lot of stuff that Hollywood and the West Coast artists and West Coast in general helped to give mainstream extensions to the hip hop industry. Wow.
And I like what you said. You know, Dennis Hopper did a great job, but it was through the eyes of a white guy. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Being at Hollywood Records, they did that movie South Central. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I thought it was trash.
Deuce.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you why I thought it was trash. Okay, because we went to the premiere. Mm-hmm. We had a song. Me and my boy High C had a song in that soundtrack. Okay, so we're sitting there, and then they introduced this young couple. They're not together, but they did it together. Mm-hmm. It was a white dude and a Japanese woman, mm-hmm. and they were the directors and the producers. And one, I think they were from Japan and Australia, but they came out here to do a movie called South Central. And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna watch this and give it a shot, you know. But dude, it was booty, it was whack, bro.
Well, I think the one thing with that, and I think the beauty of things like this is here you have some brothers, you have a Latin brother, but I think we're getting to the point where we're able to tell our own stories.
Yes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And in Hollywood, that's why John Singleton was so revered.
Yes.
Because he was able to depict it from the eyes of a brother.
Yes.
And so Boys in the Hood became that. And so if you compare Boys in the Hood to a South Central, there is no comparison.
There's no
because
comparison
of
at
what
all.
you just said.
There's no, I was sitting there and I'm like, dudes don't go around smoking sherm like that, you know. You know, and then it's fun. But the only good thing, I'm going to say this, is you know who was sitting right behind me and I thought he should have been sitting in front of us?
Who?
They introduced him and I turned around and it was him, Muhammad Ali.
Oh, wow.
Rest in peace. I turned around, he was just waving. I was like,
But see, that was what that moment was for you.
Yes.
You got to meet Muhammad
Muhammad
Ali.
Ali.
Right?
Bro.
Yeah.
And I met Wesley Snipes there that
Yeah.
time too.
And the funny thing is, in hindsight, reflection is such a powerful thing because you don't understand the moments that you're going through while you're going through it. But the reflection is what gives you a perspective. It's like you when you leave something and you look back, you're reflecting and seeing what it actually is. Because when you were there, you didn't see it. So you actually have to remove yourself from it in order to kind of visualize it and understand it. And what you're sharing with us is that moment, now you can understand it.
Yeah.
The moments that we've had, now we can understand it.
No, I kind of understood him.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
In fairness,
yeah, bro.
he did.
I understood
He
him.
did. And that's why he was always ahead of his time.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just a whole nother story. He understood stuff that we did.
So, okay, so now, before I get to my next question, I was sharing with you guys earlier. So we started doing shows. Our first tour, it was with Quick, Second to None, AMG, High C. We do all of Texas. So we get there, and it's funny. They didn't ask them because they were the Bloods. You know, I wasn't. You know, but they come up to me and was like, "Hey, what's up, homie?" And I was like, "What's up, man?" And they were like, "Hey, real quick, bro, 'cause we were in at a club called I still remember the damn name, but no, but it was in Houston, Texas. So, God, it got stuck. But anyway, so this guy comes up to me and goes, "Hey, man, you know, you guys performing tonight?" "Yeah, we're performing tonight." And he goes like this, "Hey, man, is it true, like, over there, do they really kill each other, like, for a color of a rag?" And I remember saying, in my head, I thought to myself, no. And I paused and I thought to myself, like, yeah, no, it's true. Red and blue. I'm like, red and blue, why do they do that? Like, how do you answer that? Now, before you answer, the reason why I brought this up, guys, is because they had a big song that was called Why.
It was our first song, actually.
It's our first song on Geffen Records.
Okay.
And our first song
First single.
on K-Day.
On Katie.
Yeah.
And
that's when they embraced us.
so that song Why, and then there's a chorus part where it says, why does a brother kill another brother for a color of a rag?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I was asked that, that was the first thing that came to my mind was your guys' songs. Wow. Okay. Yeah. And to me, it was just crazy because I had to give him the truth. I said, yeah. And then he said, well, why do they do that? So I'm going to open it up for you guys. Like, how do you answer that?
Well, we don't, but because he wrote it.
No. Linda Levers wrote that.
Okay.
And I came up with the hook.
Okay.
Okay.
You know what? If you want me to be honest, it's a sad thing to say, but it's something I still can't answer because I still don't understand it.
Yeah.
Well,
You know, it still happens. Not, and the thing about it that I think people don't understand is that, you know, for me coming from, what was really strange for me coming from Brooklyn, New York to Los Angeles was when I was raised in Brooklyn, Puerto Ricans, blacks, we were all the same.
Yeah.
Wasn't until I got to California
Yes.
that I became the separation of the blacks and the Mexicans and all. That didn't exist in New York where I came up from. So that was a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Like, why are we killing each other? Like, you know, we're all fighting this one cause, but out here we're killing each other. As to where you see the Fat Joes and all of that, like we're all one community. So that was strange to me. But it's still a thing that I don't know how to answer because it still goes on today. And what's funny is that it goes on today because we kind of almost had a handle on it, you know, during our time growing up.
Yeah.
But then the music and all of that brought it back to where it's still going on today. So it's a thing where, you know, you ask yourself that question. My answer would always be, it's because for them it's normal.
Sean, you care to elaborate?
Yeah, my answer to that question is it is no answer. Ignorance is one thing, but pride is the other. We are ignorantly prideful. And that is an unfortunate reality and why those things
Well, I would say prideful. I don't know if I would go as far as ignorant because I think everybody wants something. Everybody wants to have something. And for some of us, even though we don't own the block, even though we don't own the hood, even though we don't own that project we live in, that's ours.
But that's the whole thing. It's not ours, and that's why.
No. But what I'm saying,
I
no,
understand.
I understand what you're saying. But what I'm saying is that when you're in that mentality, that's all you have. So because let's say for me, for instance, what happens if Brett doesn't move to California and isn't exposed to something different?
Yeah.
Well. I mean, we spoke about it earlier, and when I say that, I'm guilty of it. I was ignorantly prideful when I got out here, and they said hello to me, and I threw up my hands wanting to fight because I was ignorantly pride. I wanted to fight because you said, "What's up to me?" What, you don't know me? That's my pride. And the ignorance is that I couldn't even see that. They was just welcoming me and saying hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yes,
How
sir.
would you answer it? Now, not then, but how would you answer it now?
I like Sean's answer. I believe that it's ignorance. And let me elaborate a little bit more. I have a very, very close friend of mine who I consider a brother to me. And he's in his 60s now. And he is an original Piru Street gang member. You know, he's not anymore, obviously. And he would tell me stories. He's actually in books, you know, people have written about him. He's still very active as far as like gym. We still work out together and stuff like that. But he told me, all that red and blue stuff, because it didn't exist then. He said, we were just Piru and that's it. And that was the name of our street. He said, we didn't wear red like everybody wears it now. He said, it wasn't until like years later, I went to Atlanta. I went into a liquor store and I came out. I just happened to be wearing a red shirt. And a couple of youngster kids, he goes, I'm in my 40s now. He goes, a couple of youngster kids, like, what's up? You know, and they said the N-word. What's up with that Piru? And he said it hit him because he said, what do you know about that? And they said, this is Piru. And he said, do you know where that comes from? They didn't. And he schooled them. He goes, that was my block. He felt guilty because here these kids in Atlanta now killing themselves, claiming his street.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest with you, the funny thing about it is that hindsight is 20/20. When he was banging Piru, he didn't know it was going to grow like that. He was, like I said, he was holding on to something that he thought was his.
Yeah.
To him at the time, it wasn't ignorant. This is my hood. This is my block. Now, I might not own it, but this is mine. This is all I have. And to a lot of our young brothers and from all cultures, I don't care whether they're black, Mexican, Armenian, Puerto Rican, Asian, if you're in that low income, if you're in that area that's considered that, you know, ghetto or what have you,
Yes.
then you're going to hold on to whatever you got because you don't really have anything. And I think we need to change that because, ignorance, but how do you change ignorance? You educate.
Educate them.
Now,
Or
if we look
exposure.
if we look at what was happening in the music genre that we're talking about, what became a problem was that we started educating each other. Like the one thing about hip hop that I don't think people realize is hip hop was the first place, okay, where I can remember being in New York, and this is when, you know, I don't. It wasn't Source. Maybe it was Jack the Rapper or something. But you got a bunch of brothers. You got Mike Conception. You got a bunch of brothers out there from the West Coast.
New Music Seminar.
Yeah, Music Seminar, West
In
Coast,
87.
East Coast, Atlanta, everywhere. People are coming and joining, but it was the first place where you would see Asian, Mexican, Black, Dominican, white, and everybody wearing X hats and African or Aztec patches.
Yeah.
And those things. So what happened was we started educating, and even NWA, people be like, hey, NWA, gangster. No, that was education. They were just putting raw on what was going on in our neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Whether it was a Latin neighborhood, whether it was a Black neighborhood, if it was a poor Asian neighborhood, poor Filipino neighborhood, the story was the same story. And that's why I think so many people related. And I think maybe if we look at it like that, then maybe we could change it, because, yeah, you're both right. It's ignorance, but it's an ignorance that has been put there for a reason.
When I ended that conversation with that individual out in Houston, because he was like, so blacks really kill each other, for, blue and red. And I had thought about it, and I said this, because at that time, I considered myself from my neighborhood here. I still live here. And I said, yeah, but we do it too. And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, if you're from Southern California, and you're Mexican,
and sureños.
You're a sureño and you wear blue. If you're from Northern California, you're a norteño and you wear red. So it's blue and red, same thing. And he was like, you guys are confused.
But again, that's why I call it ignorance, and I'm not downing anyone in using that word, but ignorance is resolved with, as he said, education or exposure.
Yes,
exposure to stuff that.
And ignorance, I mean, the fairness of both of you, ignorance is just one who doesn't have knowledge of himself.
Exactly, and it's not even of self, who just doesn't have the knowledge of the information, whatever that information is, but we can learn to get that knowledge. I learned through him giving me the opportunity to be on a record and getting me out of my environment, what environment I was in. I didn't even recognize that I was. I wasn't a street cat.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was educated. I was getting all A's. That was when I first started not getting A's. I got skipped. I wasn't even into all that. But the point is that I was starting to become the environment is so influential on us, and we don't always recognize the influence and the power of that influence.
Wow. I don't even know where to go from this, man. It's just been so good, bro. It's just been so good. We got a couple of more minutes, and then we'll get into the phone calls. But okay, so now, you guys are at Geffen, if I'm correct. You said.
Well, we went from to. Let me give you the timeline.
Please.
We Will Rock You. We Will Rock You segued into Opportunity for Mad Mad World on the Color soundtrack. We got that Color soundtrack that went gold. Gave us the opportunity to get a single deal on Geffen, which first the single was Why Party Time. Why was the more renowned of, it was the B-side of Party Time, but it was the more renowned track, which segued into us getting offered an album deal, which was done, which was Coolin' and Cali, and our album deal segued into us getting a second album deal because it did about 200,000, which was pretty good at the time. And that segued into us to get our second album deal, and that's when Muggs was supposed to be getting his first production. It was introducing Cypress and Mac Daddy J and Son Doobie. All of them was going to be features on our album, and that was going to be that first
it was a song
introduction.
called 7 MCs.
Right, 7 MCs. That Muggs produced. It was Muggs' first production. It was going to be Be Real and Sin and Son, because they was a group at first, collectively being introduced, as well as my man from East New York, Mac Daddy J, and that was a song called 7 MCs that was going to be on the second album. The second album got shelved, and here we can probably go from there.
Okay, if on the first album, and again, I want to get this straight for the public, because I had a lot of guys coming at me. If Muggs is not going to be there, that's not 783. So here we have the album. There's no Muggs production. We're talking about the first one.
You got to realize there was no Muggs. 783 existed before Muggs.
Yeah, 783 existed. What happened with Muggs is he was in high school when I got the call to do the album for 783. I had maybe 16 bars. That whole album, 783 album, was written in a month in Philadelphia at Studio 1. Studio 4 with Joe the Butcher. And me and Muggs went. And I took Muggs with me.
And that was
that's when
another introduction that he
yeah.
Gave to Muggs.
Yeah, I
to
introduced
be able
Muggs to
to
Joe.
go out on the East Coast under the budget of 783.
And that's
to
how he
where
met Joe Rough House.
He met Joe at Rough House. He went over to New York and started hanging out with Clark Kent and the other DJs. He had already he had gotten into the New Music Seminar battle through 783, which was what he was talking about, where Mike Concepcion and everybody was at. It was a 87 New Music Seminar. We was able to pay for that introduction and his past to be a part of that. So he got
basically what whoever's telling you there's no 783 without Muggs, they don't know what they're talking.
Misinformed.
That's ignorance.
They're misinformed because 783 is, I'm the one, like I said, the one who paid for the SB 1200 that he did the Cypress Hill album on.
Wow.
And I want to give my brother a big up because my brother, unlike any other person I know, has always been very generous and very generous in his information, generous in his tutelage, generous in his funding. He literally wrote primarily all of the 783 album, and I came in and wrote a bit, and because I was part of the group, but he split the publishing check that was given to 783 with the three of us, and that's how he got Muggs' first SP12 because he didn't have to. And everybody was telling him no, but because of his heart, his generosity, and his loyalty, he did.
Nah, because I'm from East New York. So from East New York. And then again, I was raised differently.
Yeah.
So, but all that to say, they're a little confused on that.
Okay. The reason why I asked that question as well, because not only because people were asking, but also because on the Y cover, he's on there.
Oh no, he's on all. I made sure, like he said, it was the three of us. We were a group. Like for instance, when Cypress Hill first started, we were working on the 783 album. One night, me and Muggs was talking. Muggs was like, "Yo, they want us to go on tour, but." You know, we got to do the 783 album. And I was like, yo, you my brother. I love you. You just put in a hell of a lot of work. Go on tour, bro. Like, you earn that. Go on tour with them, and when you get back, we'll do what we got to do.
And that was going to be our third album because we had already been working on this.
But then Cypress
blew up.
And then, you know, Muggs is my man, but his head kind of blew up too, because I'll never forget one of the things when I knew the Muggs I knew wasn't the Muggs I knew is when they did, Cypress was on Yo MTV Raps. And Fab Five Freddy asked Muggs, and to this day, I love him, but I was like, wow, that says a lot. That shows me a lot. Because everything that I had done as far as Be Real and Sinning and all of them, when they asked Muggs, yo, you was in a group before, and they were bringing up 783, he was like, nah, I don't want to talk about that. And none of them talked about it.
He said it like that?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, wow.
And this is...
Like, and I'm talking...
And I just gave you the character of this person.
I'm talking a dude who I had sleep on my couch. I'm talking a dude who was my brother. Like, Hand on the Pump came about because Muggs was staying with me at the Barham. I came in one day, he was playing a beat. I was like, yo, what's that? He's like, oh, that's some bullshit. I ain't even feeling. I was like, yo, you give me that, I'll make that shit a fucking hip hop anthem. And like for real.
And
he gave me the beat, and that's where
I remember that night.
Shotgun, hand on the pump, left hand on the 40,
puffing on the blunt. So we hadn't finished
my
that.
Shotgun, nigga, jump.
Right.
La 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 la.
He wrote that.
I wrote the whole song.
Right.
That was you?
Yeah, I wrote that whole song.
Yeah.
Like I love my man B, and B be like, yo, yeah, me and Brett know that B, I love you, but that wasn't me and Brett. Brett wrote that, and then what they did was
what was
Hand on the Glock.
Because they
didn't want me to be the original, because that meant hand on the Glock and all that came to me because
They
of
was starting
my
to do the
publishing.
business
And even
nonsense.
with that, I was like, yo, those are my brothers. Like, I gave B-Real credit. I gave them credit because that's how I was. But yeah, I'll never forget that. That's when I was like, oh, they on some funny shit. Because when Fab Five Freddy was like, yo, let's talk about the group. And Muggs was like, nah, I don't want to talk about it. Not Sinning, not B, none of them said nothing. I was like, wow.
Okay, now I have to, let me just please interject right here. I have to ask you both of this. And I want you to go first, Sean. Why do you think, if you had to guess, why do you think he said, I don't want to talk about that?
I don't guess. I would have to ask Muggs, and I would ask Muggs directly, yo, what was on your mind? Because this is a man who put you on, who, like he said, split everything fairly, was nothing but good to you. And in fairness, Muggs also has, in the future, has been, he's redeemed from that. But the point is, there was no reason for it.
Okay.
There's no excuse that he could tell me, other than there's nothing he could tell me, because of our loyalty and the way that we were raised. That would never have happened. Put it this way: before B-Real and Mello or any of them, we was doing Right On interviews. They asked me, "What are you listening to?" I said, "I'm listening to Mellow Man Ace and Cypress Hill." I never even heard them rhyme. They didn't even have a record. None of that. I just knew that's what they wanted to do.
Put it this way, I forget what studio it was, but Muggs put the Cypress Hill logo on one of the main studios in New York. Green Street, because I had to go up there and do a session. And I was like, yeah, go ahead, do that. So I've always was supportive. So when that happened, I was just like, oh, wow, that's some fucked up shit. But all right, you my dude. That's how you see it. Ain't no hate. Love is love. It's like when you have a child. Your child can do some fucked up shit, but that's still your child. So you still gonna love them. Because I remember there was one time they was in New York.
Yeah.
And they was in New York. I got calls from New York. Yo,
what you want us to do?
What you want us to do?
Yeah, yo, they out here. And I was literally, the promoters was our people.
Yeah, they was like, yo,
promoted to who hired them to come out there. It was
for a reason.
Yeah.
And they called me like, yo, what's up? They here. What's up? And I was like, yo, if them motherfuckers walk out of there with a scratch, we gonna have a problem. Those are my people. Regardless of what the fuck is going down. Those are my people. If they walk out of that motherfucker with a scratch, we gonna have a problem. And to this day, they have no idea that happened.
Yeah, no idea.
But they put it this way: one of my men's was like talking to Muggs, like, "Yo, what's up?" On the phone with me, laughing with Muggs in the home shit on the phone with me, like, "Yo, you want this nigga to leave or what?" Because he ain't gotta leave.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yo, if they walk out of there with a scratch, we got a problem."
And the funny thing is, that's an exclusive to your show,
because we've never talked
shared
about
that story.
Yeah, I've never shared that story
in public.
Wow, thank you, man.
But it's a true story. And it was a roller skating ring. I think it was Empire.
It was Utica. Or Empire. It was Utica.
Empire, but I think Empire roller skating was it was on Utica. I can't remember the name.
It was
of
Utica
it.
skating
Utica skating rink. And they.
But don't get me wrong.
Rock.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Those are my dudes. But that's when I kind of knew, like, oh, okay, we switching it up now.
Yeah.
And in the years since, I've gotten my credit, and me and Muggs is cool. But that's when I knew, like, okay, we ain't cut from the same cloth.
Let me answer what you asked earlier, because I think I do have an answer. Why did he say that? Because he might not have really liked 783 music. And I can understand. Our original album was what the label primarily wanted us to do. So we sacrificed being creative and having creative control so that we can do an album and give the opportunity for us to all be able, like Mellow Man Ace got his deal in a 783 studio session. So a lot of the stuff that we were sacrificing was for the bigger picture. So when our first album came out, he probably didn't like it. There were songs we didn't like. Drums of Steel was not our favorite song. Yeah. We had a lot of other songs. Coolin' and Cali, they messed up because they were supposed to do a video with Coolin' and Cali. That would have blown 783 up tremendously, but they were stuck on. They was afraid to invest into a video at the time.
Yeah,
and then
at that time you got to realize wasn't that many videos.
Right, and what they wanted to invest in was drums of steel because that was a brainchild of theirs. It was actually supposed to be a steel drum, but Coolin and Cali would have been a much better fit to do a video for.
Because Coolin and Cali was actually done by the Bomb Squad.
Right.
The Bomb Squad.
Yeah, the Bomb Squad.
Hank Shockley,
exactly. So they
Eric
were
Sadler.
hot. They had Public Enemy. They had all the Ice Cube. They were still working. So they were hot. So it would have made more sense and it would have been productive. Me being an executive in the music industry, I understand that clearly now that they made the mistake. I understood it then, but I understand it even better now. And they was afraid to do it, and that was one of the biggest mistakes of why we didn't launch. And in fairness to Muggs, I can understand why. And the other thing is, we did the second album, and we hired Spider-Man and Freeze, who were our childhood friends. And we gave them a significant amount of money because they were hot. They just did Poison, Color Me Bad, and or I Want to Sex You Up, all of these songs that they just did. So they wanted, I'll even give the number out there, about $35,000 per track. And
Per track?
No, that couldn't be the reason they did that because it wasn't out then. Like that wasn't.
No, it was. I remember it specifically because Muggs told us we did Ha Ha Ha. He said I could loop that sample and I could have did that myself. And I think that might be why there might have been a disconnect on Muggs' behalf because he was right. He could have gotten paid, and they didn't want to pay him because he's part of the group. So he might have felt a way about that. In fairness, so
I mean, I get that, but at the same time, nah,
it's not an excuse.
I can't. What happened. That's my brothers. I love them. Yeah. I'm glad they've had the success they've had.
Absolutely.
And that's that.
But I will say that I remember that story now.
But
that we gave our people. Because they were our people, we paid them what they was the market value at the time and what they were asking for. When we could have, that was
actually what happened was I had a choice between them and Teddy Riley. Teddy Riley wanted the whole budget, everything.
Right.
Teddy wanted everything, and for everything I would get 2 songs from Teddy. And at that time, I decided to go with them because I had already heard, and there was some songs I already wrote. And on the second album, I wanted to have a mixture of radio songs, but my thing, like I said from the beginning, was I wasn't a rapper like that. I was a rapper who liked to talk about issues. So me and Muggs, like the stuff that was important to me, that I wanted to do, me and Muggs did, which was Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death, Me Still Pledge Allegiance in America, Dimmer Side, True Kings and Queens. So all of the stuff that was important to me, we did. Right. The 7 MCs, me and Muggs did. Because that was important to me that, Cypress was going to get out. Son was going to be heard.
Did you guys ever record that song?
Yeah. We recorded the whole second album was done. Now, what happened in hindsight, and again, me being an executive, it's easy to understand. It was too political. Because we were really... Yes, I am black, but no, I'm not a nigga. Yes, I'm one of color, but it does not make my dick bigger. And my skin is definitely not a curse. When I walk by, there's no reason to grab your purse. If I cross the street, you don't have to lock your doors. You don't have to watch me if I'm shopping in your stores. Please dismiss the myth. We come from savages, lived as kings and queens when you were scavengers. That was his lyrics in 1990, before anybody came out.
Yeah.
Another lyric. He ended it with, the story's twisted, but I break it down with fact. The Pope knows that the prophets were black, but me still pledge allegiance in America. Those are the songs that we did with Muggs. Me, police, protect and serve is the object, not to harass and make life hectic. Abuse of authority, that shit must cease. That's why so many say, fuck the police. Wearing a hat doesn't make me a suspect. The accusation is a form of disrespect. I have a hoodie with some Timberland boots. Does that make me less honest than a man in a suit? You violate my rights whenever you can. That's why a badge is too much power for man. But me still pledge allegiance. This is what we were writing then.
That was the second album.
Wow. That's the second album. So,
once MCA heard that, it was like, oh, hell no.
So but on the flip side, we had the Spider-Man and Freeze songs, which
the
was
love song.
high. Precious is my love.
It's kind of like, where I got it from is because if you remember, and at that time, Muggs was listening to You Must Learn, Knowledge, KRS. And we were listening to that a lot.
Love Care, probably my favorite rapper, him and Rakim.
Yeah, but what I learned from KRS is, because if you remember, his song was, first it was The Breaks Is Over, then it was Listen to My 9mm go bang. This is, and then he switched to the teaching. So I was like, okay, I have to give him this.
Yes.
In order to get this. And then it was a lot more, it made more sense to me because you mentioned why. Why was the B side?
Right.
Party Time was the A side. Right. So without Party Time, you don't get why.
Right.
So my thing was, all right, let me have the Party Times.
So they can listen to
and
what
all
they
that.
need.
So they'll listen to the Me Pledge Allegiance in America. So they'll listen to the Two Kings and Queens.
But the why worked.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's because it wouldn't have been a why, to his point, had the Party Time was a single. Like, that's what they wanted. That's what the label wanted. We just fought for, we need to put Y
on the side B. And what's funny about the side B, if you look at the actual, if you look at the Y picture, right? If you go to the back, you look at the Party Time single, you see me, Muggs, and Sean on the Benz in the front. If you turn to the back, you see a shotgun coming 22. Out of a 22 and coming out, and people against the thing ducking down. Well, that's Muggs. Not Muggs. That's Mellow Man Ace, Be Real, Grego, and Sinning.
On that 12-inch?
On the back of the 12-inch.
The ones who are sitting there and it look like they're about to be shot and they trying to run.
That's who it is.
Be Real.
So see, that's why when I say it bugged me out when they did the MTV thing, because that's how deep we were.
See, this is bugging me out because look at all, and much love. I talked to B not too long ago.
Yeah, that's how deep we were.
Yeah, I didn't know this. Nobody's ever mentioned you guys.
Oh, no. Well, you can't.
Recently, I will say this. Like I said, reflection is hindsight. And recently, there's been a reflection. They actually, in the moment, they probably didn't understand. But now they do. And they have been more recently giving him his props, giving 783 the props in far as us being a launching pad for a lot of different things that they did. I say personally, and this is my opinion personally, Sean Bolden, it has nothing to do with anyone else, that Brett inspired the first Cypress Hill album.
Wow.
Because he had a song that Muggs, like he said, the songs on our second album that Muggs produced, one of the songs was called Click, Click, Bang, Bang. Another song was called Manslaughter with Intent to Kill. Click, Click, Bang, Bang was a song that Muggs would play with everybody, for everybody, because it was a dope song. Brett never wanted to put it out because of something that happened when we went back to East New York, similar to what you was describing with your guy Pyru, and happened to us when we went back there, and a little kid, Leah Joe, I can't remember which one, kind of said, yo, I want to be like you when I get older. And Brett was like, yo, I can't do this. So Click, Click, Bang, Bang is what Muggs wanted to really push for 783. But Brett was like, nah, I can't do that. We ain't want us to talk about blunts. We ain't want to talk about all the stuff where we came from, because we got in the music industry to get out of that.
Ooh.
Yeah, so what happened was, originally, it came to me like, yo, we can talk about blunts and, what we do. And I was like, yeah, I said, but you guys live in houses. I'm from the projects. Like, me telling kids to smoke blunts and shit like that, that shit winds up crack cocaine and where I'm from. So I couldn't really do that, but I ain't got no problem helping you out.
And we said we'll do it in shows.
Yeah.
And that kind of is also where the separation disconnect that he might have been talking about might have came from, because that's where Muggs' heart was.
No, not only that, Muggs controlled that up until a certain point. Muggs controlled Cypress. It was his baby up until a certain point, and now it's B-Will's baby.
Yeah.
But up until a certain point, that was all Muggs. And Muggs didn't have control over 783 like he did over Cypress Hill.
Okay.
And the shit he could do to people in the Soul Assassins arena at that time, he definitely wasn't doing that shit with me.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of things, and we were all young. I mean, we were young.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, you go from nothing to now you the man, and a lot of shit happened.
Do you guys still talk to him at all?
Oh yeah, I talk to Muggs every once in a while. Birthdays.
We
there
always
was a time I was working out of the studio.
Yeah.
Last time I saw B,
Muggs
I went
is
to
our brother.
Yeah.
Let's be clear.
Yes, yes.
Everybody we spoke about is our brothers.
Yeah, to this day.
We just embrace brotherhood a lot differently
Yeah.
than most
Like,
in
I
this
see them-
industry, not
yeah.
just
like it's some
Anybody-
real shit with me. Like
Yeah.
If I
but
call you my
what
brother-
it was is I think what it was, to be quite honest with you, for me in LA, with a lot of the artists I met in LA, is that we was one way behind closed doors, and then when you got in the front of the people, you were kind of Hollywood, and I ain't with that Hollywood.
Yeah, I can't be like that. You know,
Yeah.
well, I had one caller call me one time, and I said, "Look, just DM me on the Instagram, and I'll give him my number." So he gave him my number. I give him my number. We talked like for about an hour. Okay, this was somebody that I don't even know, but he just said, "I just want to talk to you, bro." So I said, "All right, cool." So I give him we talked about an hour. We chopping it up. We talked music and everything. And here's what he said, "Bro, you know what's crazy, man?" He goes, "You're the same way." The same guy that I see on the podcast, you're the same guy on the phone, bro. But I just have to ask you, are you the same way in person or do you switch up?
Yeah, but and see that's
a
where
fair
783 became kind of different, because what I used to get from 783 from homeboys, hoods, and all that was like, yo, them motherfuckers are the chillest motherfuckers in the world. Like, there wasn't none of that Hollywood shit with me, because I'm not, like, it is what it is. And for me, it was kind of weird. Like, I always regretted using the name Brady B, because I was like, had I used a name like MC Vision, you know, people wouldn't be addressing me by my first name. So it kind of made me hard for me to classify like who I knew and who I didn't know.
And I'm literally, wow, you just took it to a place. I do a lot of life studying, and I speak with a lot of people on panels and things of that nature to this day. And we both have been raised with that in us. So I say that because I'm just now learning that a lot of the stuff that happened through 783 might have been, as they would call it, traumatic. You know, because it called, like somebody, I told the story about this, and Brother know, I walked into our apartment, and there was a girl there who I didn't know, and she started crying and ran to the closet. And I'm walking in to go home, and this person is in my house.
Yeah, because her
I
friend
don't
that came
know
to
her.
see me.
Her
and
friend
she,
that came to see him with her, I don't know this girl. And she just started crying and runs in the closet.
and I got to talk out the closet.
Yeah, he go, yo, Sean, I need you to come out here
And
to talk to this
he's
girl.
in a room with his girlfriend at the time.
Yeah, and I'm like, and he's like, yo, I need you to come out here
And
to
talk
talk
this-
this girl out of the closet. And I'm like, how did she even? So to his point, Sean B and Brett B, so people will come up, hey Sean, and will be able to tell us stuff about ourselves that we think we know them,
And we
and
don't.
we don't.
They read
just
the bio.
know, read the bio or read something. So we start embracing them like we embrace people in general, regularly, and that can sometimes be dangerous.
Yeah. Like, for instance, Carl Kanai.
Carl Kanai.
I gave Carl Kanai. Remember, we gave him the couch. We moved out the house. They had just got out here. Him and AZ. We gave him a couch.
God rest his soul. And Let the Bells Ring video, which was where Son got his first launch.
Yeah,
they designed the
he
suits,
designed
the
the
783 suits. Carl Kanai, Season, and AZ and them. We had a budget, and they was from East New York as well.
So
we
he's like,
was
yo,
trying
here.
to show them support, and we was like, yo, we got a budget. They needed the money. We needed clothes here. Let's do it. And that was something before Carl Kanai was called Seasons.
But the funny thing is that, like you say, you talk to people and they be like that. Like, that's how we are. So what I attribute that, some people forget because they get caught up in that Hollywood. I'm kind of fortunate to where I never got caught up in that. So I've always been able to relate to real people, because I can go to the president's house and I can go to the hood.
Right.
Like, one of my favorite artists, not because of just what he did, because of the way he was DMX.
Yeah.
Because I could see DMX in a
I've seen
fucking bodega in the hood, and he's the same dude that he would be at a concert.
Right. And I seen
And that's kind of where we were.
yeah, we were always the same. And,
Like,
and
you know,
we
wherever we
respected
go,
that. When
we
I
go.
saw X, you know, like, for example, I was running the rap department at A&M. And we did a remix to We Be Clubbing with DMX on it. We also did a remix with We Can Freak It, I believe, with some East Coast artists. But the point was, when I saw DMX, I was turning a remix, And I saw him. I was like, yo, X, you know what one of my favorite lines in this song is? He's like, yo, what? I was like, it's so good. It's all right. Fuck all day. Fuck all night. He's like, a word? All right. That's when he did that song. Because if y'all listen to the remix of We Be Clubbing, he says in the middle, it's so good, it's all right, fuck all day. So that hook came from that song, and it came from when I shared it with him. And I saw him months later. I had Trick. I was taking on a national tour, right? And we saw DMX, and he gave the same love he gave me that night to not just me, but he gave it to my man Nut, Trick, everybody. It was DY, X, they were DMX and Rough Riders.
Right.
We was just out there. Trick was just kind of first getting. He was on For Show Records, which my man BMB is his records label, and they were just getting out there. And so when they got the love from X, it was literally the night that him and Trick Daddy got into a little scenario. Because right after X was like, yo, gave us the love, Trick Daddy boys came and pressed. Like, yo, what y'all doing out here with the name Trick? And it was like night and day. Like, why is it that, yo, why we ain't out? And it wasn't Trick Daddy. It was his people. He wasn't even around. They called his people on the phone like, yo, what you want us to do? Like what Brett just said. and that just forged a wedge. But the point being is that X had that same
it's just,
warm,
I think it's a
real mentality everywhere he went.
There's a difference between
God
the real
rest
and
his soul.
Hollywood.
Okay, I've seen a couple of rappers that sometimes towards me. One of them you guys mentioned, and I'll ask me after the show, and I'll tell you who he is, because you guys mentioned him. And I'm gonna say this because I love B, and it wasn't B real. So, but I'll mention him after the show. I've seen this guy broke as fuck. I walk into a club, people see him, they start jocking him. He's already switching up on motherfuckers, and then even switching up on me now. Hey, I need you to go over there, give me a drink. Fuck you talking about? Go get your fucking drink. Bitch, you ain't got no fucking money in your fucking pocket. Like, don't talk to me like that, big dog. You know what I'm saying? Especially since I'm the one that picked you up and bought you dinner and then take you to the club, and because these motherfuckers are jocking you, they don't know you. I know your ass. Yeah. You know?
Well, put it this way. You wouldn't know them if it wasn't for us. I know who you're talking about.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
So, and irony, literally had to check it quite a few times.
Yeah.
Because, I was management. I was a label rep. When I first got back into the industry, I didn't want to have anything to do with 7,
I'll put it to you this way: if it's who he said, he had to stop me from jumping on that person.
Yeah, and quite frankly, love him to death. But yeah, I understand, and it's an unfortunate. But we created that monster, so we apologize to you.
Yeah,
no, seriously, we did create that, and we apologize, and we have to sometimes, balance that, and it was great at the moments when we are there, you will never see that. Yeah. Okay. But when we are not there, it might get, we keep it balanced. Yeah,
because we'll be like, you what?
Okay. We're running out of time. Okay. We got like 8 minutes. Okay. And we're not going to I don't want to take calls in 8 minutes because we'll probably get 2. Okay. So I would like to take the time and eventually invite you guys back to possibly just take calls, if that's okay with you guys. We average at least about 1,000 people live. Okay. Wow. So at least we'll get a lot of phone calls because there's just so much. Because I want to talk about you being a label rep, management, Source Magazine, etc. And I also want to go a little bit deeper in your history as well. But it's just
really interesting history.
We just can't cover all this in 2 hours. Now, but I do want to promote, because you gave me a bottle of water.
Yes.
Can you please share with us where can they buy it? Why is this water different? And etc.
All right, H2O, y'all, H2O. Where's the camera? Look, H2O, CBD infused water. We are co-owners. I'm sorry, we are salesmen of it, and we and it's in all stores. It's at stores. If it's not in your store, ask them where is it.
Okay.
Go in there and say, where is my H2O CBD infused? It has 10 milligrams of water. This is the logo. Y'all can see it right there. And we want y'all to support us. And the reason why we're doing it is because it's CBD, for those who don't know, is the medicinal portion of marijuana that actually helps with inflammation, with the different ailments that you might have.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get you high. It's not THC, which is to get you high.
That's what I was gonna ask because I don't smoke weed, so I'm always afraid. Like, am I gonna be like?
No.
Not at all.
This will calm you down.
It's good for anxiety. Cancer patients. It's good. CBD. Look up CBD. It does a lot of positive things for the body.
Yes.
As someone who stopped eating meat, stopped smoking, stopped drinking for like 2 years, it definitely helps with just keeping you healthy.
Right.
Working out and all of that.
Yeah, and I will say this as well. The reason why we continued it is because we got the testimonies of how many people our waters was helping.
Yeah.
And so it's distributed through My Beverages, and H2O is the name of the brand. Just started. It's the cheapest CBD water on the market. It's $1.99.
$1.99.
Sticker price. You can't get it anywhere else. If your store don't have it, right now we're in Gardena, LA, West Hollywood, and we're growing. We just launched maybe about a month and a half ago, so we're growing. If it's not in your store, we ask you, go ask where's your H2O.
H2. Whoa, like Black
Whoa.
Roll.
Yeah. And our official IG is official H2O WOAH.
Okay, I'm gonna have them put it on the description
Absolutely.
so they can just click it as well.
So I was going to say something. If we
Yes,
come
sir.
back to do phone calls, one of the things I think we're going to do is we talked a lot about the second album. We talked a lot about the stuff Muggs did. We talked about a lot of stuff the Freeze did. So why don't we do this? We'll send you the second album. You can play it for people. They can listen to it, and then we can come back and maybe talk about it because no one's ever heard it.
Wait, and Tony, I just learned this. I was in, by the way, big up to Special Ed. I'm on the board of his nonprofit organization.
Special Ed?
Yeah. We was together. SEAL is the name of his organization. It's Special Ed Arts and Literacy, and I'm a board member there. And I was out there in Coney Island to a concert where it was him. Mikey D, Sweet T, Nice and Smooth, Master Ace, Buckshot. It was a slew of people who were performing in Coney Island. It was a free concert. It was on Sunday of last week. That's why I couldn't come last Sunday. And what I was going to say is that we definitely have always been advocates of losing our train of thoughts, which I just did. But
It's all good.
no, but seriously, Seal, I wanted to give a big up to them. But what I was saying with the water is that we're getting it everywhere. I brought it out there. We're only doing Southern California right now, but we're expanding it into other marketplaces as we continue to go on. If you want it in your marketplace, I need you to have demand for it. Because if we could get a truckload out there, we're with it. We can get truckloads anywhere you need it in the country, but it needs to be truckloads as opposed to cases.
For people that go to 7-Elevens, can they find it there?
They can ask. We are definitely in a couple of 7-Elevens is a chain, but we we can get it in in certain stores, and we have, but it's not in every 7-Eleven yet. But yeah, you can go ask, because guess what? The demand will create the opportunity to get it.
Because
so your grocery stores, liquor stores, 7-Elevens, it's everywhere. You just ask for H2O.
I hit up I'm gonna hit up all my liquor store because I go to all the liquor stores right down the street, and I'm just gonna hit them up for this. And if not, I'll take them a picture and say, you need to get this.
I appreciate that.
So
in
no,
advance.
most definitely.
Oh, I know what I was gonna say. Serato. Do you have it?
Yes.
Serato. Just found this out in Coney Island. That's where I was going with this. You can actually, you can separate. They have a 4-part separation in Serato now naturally, where when you send him the album, he can make an instrumental to you. He can do a vocal just with a touch of a button.
It separates the stems.
It separates the stems.
Oh, okay.
It creates and yo, bro. I was like, yo, I need to. So when we do send it,
Okay.
I don't know. Y'all need to talk because y'all do. But separating the stems because he don't got Serato. He's not a DJ. But that would be very helpful and valuable when we come back up and we can start talking about it and then break it down.
Say You guys come back. We play maybe a minute and a half. Let people call in and judge it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so put it this way. It's for those who like there's no 783 without Muggs, maybe they need to hear like the 7 MCs. Maybe they need to hear Give Me Liberty or Death, Hot, 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 and some of those things.
Hell yeah. Let's do it.
And we'll
Not
get
to
you
mention
Click, Click, Bang, Bang, the song that I told you
that
about tonight.
brought about Hand on the Pump.
That, in my opinion, inspired a lot, you know, because How I Could Just Kill a Man, I don't connect it, but I connected. It wouldn't, without a Click, Click, Bang, Bang, I don't think there would be How I Could Just Kill a Man. Not to say that he wrote it or anything like that. He did write Hand on the Pump, but the inspiration
I see what you're saying.
could be, in my opinion,
No, it was built around Click, Click, Bang, Bang.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shout out to my son because I did that. Me and Muggs did that in the house with my firstborn in my arms because he was crying. So shout out to my firstborn.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned special ed. If he's ever out here, man, do you think you could ever connect me with him?
Absolutely.
I'm a big special ed fan.
I'll call Ed up when we get off and see when he's coming out here because Ed and I, like I said, I was just with him the other day. And I talked with him regularly because we're out there. We're trying to advocate education, literacy in the school systems for the kids and all of that. And I'm helping him out with that. And we have a board that we're doing it. So he would definitely love to come out and speak about that and other things that you want to ask him about.
Coney Island is the only place I haven't been to yet. For those of you guys don't know what Coney Island is, go watch The End of the Warriors.
Yeah,
so that's it.
It's in Brooklyn.
Yeah. So, anyways, my brothers, Brett, Sean, thank you.
Thank you.
Honestly, I haven't had a good one like this in a long time. And I was telling you guys earlier, Tony G was like, I think this was up there with it.
Wow,
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Other than that, Brett, Sean, you want to take the time, give shout outs? Anybody you guys want to shout out?
Shout out to everybody who's out there. Keep the hope alive. Keep the dream alive. Believe in yourself. Manifest what you want and go get it.
And I want to say the same. Shout out to our families. Shout out to our mother.
Yeah, shout out to you, Ma. I know you
are
looking.
the third. She's the original member of 783.
Yeah.
It wasn't Bugs. It was actually our mother, who is still alive and kicking, as she will tell you when you meet her. And she drives him crazy more than me. I drive her crazy. Yeah. You know, it's just an order of protocol.
Right. Yeah, he's the baby. I'm the oldest.
Yeah, I drive her crazy. She drives him crazy, and we just kind of do that. But we love her, so I want to shout her out. I believe she is watching the show right now. I sent her the link.
No, she's definitely watching the show.
We love you, and thank you for all that you have done for us. Yes. Pops, rest in peace. Thank you for all you've done for us. And
shout out to my wifey.
Yes, my
shout out to my kids.
Yes, my children.
Shout out to my niece.
Yeah, we
his
just
daughter.
Families.
My other niece sitting in the back.
Yeah, we just family is real critical to us as we share with you. And
shout out to Marv over there.
Yeah, and that's our family. You know, Marv. Oh, and Coffee and Kush also.
Yeah, Coffee and Kush problem.
Also,
shout out to my man P.
Black owned Artisan Water. Correct. Yeah. Artisan, I get mixed up.
Shout out to
P-Knuckle, Ronan Gray,
Juan Barajas.
Oh, you know what? Seeing how we here, one thing you might not know about us. My brother produced an artist. Well, he produced a Mexican group called Fifth Son. That was on Loud. Okay. We had a single, and that segued into an artist by the name of Malverde. Malverde was a Mexican hip hop artist that he produced wholly.
Malverde?
Malverde. Yeah. And you look it up, you'll see some stuff. We did 2 albums with him. And we was signed to Machete, which was through Universal Latin. And he's now an executive over, he's like the senior VP over at BMI Latin. And so we had a lot to do with connecting the black and brown cultures together.
Oh, definitely.
And so that's something that a lot of people don't know. Not just Cypress, because obviously they're the first platinum brown group in the history of rap. But also moving forward, we had Malverde, and he was the producer. Then we did songs with Tony Touch, with Sun Doobie, with quite a few features, and it was a good album, underrated, similar to some of the other albums we spoke about, but I think it was something worthwhile.
Check it out. It's all Spanish album, hip hop. Check it out, Malverde. Just look it
There
up.
was a lot of things you guys said before I give my shout out, and I just want to bring one last thing you said, and then I want to ask you a question. Because you said, I believe you said you worked for the Source magazine at one point.
I very short.
Okay.
I worked. I was literally, I worked at the Source for a short period of time. The last Source Awards, I was an operations manager over that awards, and I was working during that time. But I also worked at several labels. I was an executive at several labels, including Interscope.
Let's save that. Let's save that, please, because I have more to ask you. But one thing that you said that really, really stood out to me, and I think people out here need to fully understand that when you came out here, Brett, you had said that everybody was separated, but in New York, everybody was together. You know, black and brown, black and Latinos. And you came out here, the Mexicans over here, the blacks were over here, and everything was separated. I just want people to chew on that for a while, you know, because again, when you went back home, everybody's together. Here, everybody was separated. So my question to you pertaining to the Source magazine, is the Source magazine a hip hop magazine or a East Coast magazine?
Both.
Okay.
It's a hip hop magazine that was derived on the East Coast. Actually, when we first started 783, Dave Mays was out here, and that magazine was a piece of paper. And he was giving out the magazine. It was a little pamphlet. And he grew that pamphlet into the magazine that it became. And big up to Dave and Benzino and Ray and Dave. They did a magnificent and incredible thing. But it was definitely a hip hop magazine that derived from the East Coast, which is Boston specifically, and segued across the country and throughout the world.
Okay, because I have more questions about that, but I like the way you answered it. So other than that, let me go ahead and give my shout out to my boy Norbert, News with Norbies. Make sure you guys tune in for that one. My boy Alex Cervantes, Cervantes Enterprise. If you guys need a hoopty that needs to be fixed, he can do it in the mix. He has his own shop. Then give my son B-SKANLESS a shout out for helping me promote this, and then the Hip Hop Jedi, and then our moderators, Magic Girl. Also want to thank everybody who tuned in on the live chat, everybody who decided not to be on the live chat, everybody who liked, comment, subscribed, everybody who, my apologies for not taking the calls right now, but we will have a part 2. We'll play the second album, and we'll take all the calls we want. It's just that there's just so much history, and like I said, I gave you guys an analogy. It's like walking into a record store. You don't know where to start looking, and this is only one aisle that I've gone through. So we're gonna leave it there. Much
I'll
love.
put it this way: this ain't even the aisle. This is one bin.
Yeah, exactly.
One bin.
There you go. Brett, Sean, thank you very much. Much love and respect to you guys.
you.
Thank you guys. We're out of here. Do we have anything, or we're good? Okay. Thank you. Take us away, because I need a drink.
Goodbye.
I could go on forever, baby.
You got it